today, and I was thinking about this presentation and putting it together, and I had some really interesting, shocking things happen to me as I was putting it together. And so I'm about to tell you information about myself. So if you want to get out your calculator, I'm about to tell you probably how old I am. But I recognize that as of 2016, that I've officially been out of college for 20 years. So the reason this came to me is that just a little bit ago, I got asked to speak and teach a workshop in a class at my alma mater. And I actually moved back to my college town about 3 years ago. So I had the opportunity to do this. And I was thinking about this and thinking, God, not only is it shocking that I've been out of college that long, but I'm about to teach a class. And how did that happen? How on earth did I get to the point where I'm teaching a class, not the one in the class? And then another shocking thing happened, and I thought, not only am I teaching a class, but I'm about to teach a class to MBA students, and I'm not an MBA, and I'm also about to teach them something that didn't even exist when I was in college. I'm going to be talking to these students about a concept that didn't exist, and that's about community. And so I thought, well, this is pretty incredible. And that's when I came to the topic of this presentation. So the concept, oh, and I knew this clicker wasn't going to work. Difficulty. How do I do? There we go. All right, wrong button. All right, so the concepts that I'm thinking about when I'm going to present to you is about this combination of the digital and the human harmony. That's what I call it. So this is something that you probably recognize. It's an old school call center circa 1990s. And you all can probably have a reaction to calling into a support line just like this. Now, back in the day, when I started at Salesforce nearly 14 years ago in the dinosaur era, there was an option that we did at Salesforce. If you were a customer-facing employee, you had to sit on the support line. And I was so freaked out about this option. We would first sit with a splitter and listen to support calls, and then when you became comfortable with that, which was really only a couple of days, you had to actually log into the support line yourself. And I've never been on support before, and this was the most incredibly humbling experience. And if you all have the opportunity to do this and you haven't done this, you absolutely have to do this, because it tests your patience, it tests your knowledge, it tests your dedication, and it was incredibly difficult. I try to take this experience with me everywhere I go now, anytime I call into a support line, but I still get very frustrated myself. Now, put yourself in calling into one of those support lines 10, 15 years ago, and really have not a lot of options. You wait, you know you're gonna wait, and it's so frustrating. It's still frustrating, but then you know you're waiting. And then maybe you get an agent and they pick up the call, and the first thing they do is ask you for gobs of information about yourself. They have no idea who you are. Even if you called in yesterday, they still have no idea who you are, and they ask you over and over again, and they'll probably ask you again. And so then maybe you get your issue resolved, and that would be great. That's a great situation, but often you didn't, and you're left super frustrated. And you have nowhere to go at this point. You are left with asking for a supervisor, and they're going to do what for you? Or maybe you fill out an online form, or maybe you email. Those were your options. You did not have a lot of options. And so you're left looking like this poor little girl with no repercussions, no options, and you're tearing your hair out. Oops, wrong direction again. So now, put yourself in today's world. Flash back to today. And now we have a million options. And it's amazing where we've come in just a short amount of time, where we had absolutely no options, and now we have a million options. And how often do you call into a support line now? Probably a little less, but you probably still do. So I'll give you an example of what it is like today versus maybe what it was like back in the day, at least in my experience. So I just had to call in to support line, and it still makes me so crazy. Even though I keep that information with me, it still makes me with all this dread of having to sit on a support line and wait for an agent to call up. So first thing that happens is they ask me for my account. I called Verizon. That's who I was calling, my phone carrier. And they ask me, before I get on the line, for my account number and some information about myself, which is already a flash into what we have now, some personalization. But you don't even necessarily think that is going to make a difference, because oftentimes you get on the call and they're still going to ask you for that information again. But at least we're moving in the right direction. So I get on the call, and an agent picks up, and I say to this agent, I'm having this very weird issue. I have this random person attached to my phone number. It's just some random guy. They keep calling me and saying, do you know this individual? Do you know this individual? And I don't know this individual. They say call in to get him taken off. So I said, why on earth is there some random man attached to my account? And she, I could tell, is reading from a script. And she says, well, ma'am, oftentimes when you change carriers or you change your phone number, it will attach the old person to your call. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. I've had this phone number, this exact same phone number, for 12 years. Can I please have another answer? Is there any other information you can provide me? And she is, again, off script now, doesn't know what to do. So she said, I'm going to contact my supervisor. So she calls her supervisor. She comes back on the line, and I'm telling you, this was a first for me. She says, we don't know. I was like, what? Are you out of your mind? I said, you don't know? This is the answer. But when you get an answer like that, and first of all, if anyone knows me, that left me speechless, and that does not happen very often. I was shocked. So I thought, okay, you don't know. All right, well, 10, 15 years ago, that would have been the end of the conversation. I don't have anywhere to go. I talked to the supervisor, but now I have options. We have lots of options. So this is how the conversation could have gone. Now, it didn't go this way, but this is how it could have gone today. I could have hung up the phone, and I'm frustrated. I have this random man attached to my account. It's very disturbing. I have no information, and I could immediately look up Verizon's Twitter handle. And I can craft a scathing 140-character tweet. And while I'm at it, I could throw the agent under the bus. And why don't I just, for the heck of it, throw in a really hateful hashtag, Verizon fail, and off I go. And what I expect is immediately Verizon to tweet me back and tell me that I have all this information because I demand respect. I need more information. I don't know. That doesn't work for me. I need information. And if I don't get a tweet back from Verizon, I'm going to go to Facebook. I'm going to blast them on Facebook. And then I'm going to go to their discussion forums. And I might blast them on the discussion forums. I think you see where this is going. We have a lot of options. Now, options are good. I like options. I think we've come an amazing, obviously, direction. I'm not saying all of this is bad. Options are good. But this is where I think things are going south in this process that we're moving in the direction. Now, I think what's going on is that there is this interesting thing that's happened that I've observed, where is an online personality. We have all now created this online personality. And it's often very, very different than who your offline personality is. And I get the distinct pleasure of running our success community. So you can imagine that I interact with hundreds of thousands of online personalities all the time. And I love it. And I also get the distinct pleasure of coming to events like this and meeting a lot of those online personalities in person and all throughout the different events that we do. And I'm sure you're like me. When this happens, you often meet that online personality and you thought, oh, that is so different than I thought that person was going to be. That is shocking to me. It's a totally different experience than I thought. And the reason I thought about it and the reason I think that that's happening is that online, we can be whoever we want to be. We can be funnier and bolder and snarkier and wittier, and really it goes on and on. We can hide behind the words that we say. We can be whatever we want. We can demand what we want. But really, there's a human element to this that we're all forgetting. We're not nice anymore. We forget our manners. We don't say please or thank you, may I, or we don't take the time to make those interactions. We just really demand. And really, it's a good thing. Again, it's the online and social media and community has provided us a channel where we can be whoever we want, which is great. We can say whatever we want, and it also evens the playing field. So this is a good thing. Now, we also expect things right this second. And I'm sure when you look at this, you're having an immediate reaction. Like, oh, this is horrible, hate, loathing of this loading symbol, because we want it all right this second. And I am a complete victim of this. The minute I see things like this, or the spinning wheel of rainbow death on my Mac, I am like, reboot, and I'm immediately taking action. But if we take a second and probably waste more time spending all this time rebooting the computer, it takes forever. If we waited 2 seconds, if we just took a breath for a second, then maybe our computer would boot up or we would have a second to think. Then there's also things like this that are feeding into it even more. Now, I'm a huge Amazon fan. There's probably 6 boxes waiting for me at home right this second. And we order virtually everything on Amazon. My husband is obsessed. He has an Amazon issue. But Amazon is great. Amazon is super fast, and we want what we want. When we need something, we want it. And that's what's great about Amazon. And that is fast in and of itself. But then we add on things like this, which make it faster. Because we can't wait 4 days, we have to wait 2 days. And we pay the money to do it. And we pay the money, meaning I pay the money to do it, because I want what I want when I want it. And the interesting thing is that my kids that are growing up in this era, they are 10 and 8. This is the world that they live in. This is what they know. They wait 2 days for things. This never happened in my day. You waited weeks for things back in the day when you wanted something. Or you had to wait till your birthday, or you had to wait till some big thing. Now, you want it, you got it. And now they don't even want this. They want the drone. They want the Amazon drone. When they think of something they want it plopped down onto their doorstep. So this is an incredible world we live in. Again, really good options, good things going on. So I'm going to give you 2 seconds, not 2 seconds, 4 or 5 seconds to read this, because this, I think, sums up a lot of what I'm trying to get at. That we have become, in 136 characters, this gem can sum up everything that we're doing. I'm sure you probably already got it. Now, what I'm proposing is that there has to be a middle ground. There has to be a way where we can take the things we learned 10 or 15 years ago, the human interaction, even though it sounds like there wasn't much, but at least there was human. And then we take this online digital and we put it together, and can't we find our happy place? This might not be your happy place. This is definitely my happy place. And why can't we see if we can find this middle ground? I'm going to use an example that I know from my playbook that demonstrates this perfect, and it's an example of this user group community. This is a user group community. You all are part of this user group. That's why you're here today. And what is so incredible is that this program was actually started in 2005 by a community member that came to me and said, I want to meet with my local community. I want to talk to people about Salesforce in my local area. Can you help make that happen? And while I wish there was some strategic direction and some measurable metrics that I had for this program, I just didn't have that at the time. And I said, yes, I think that sounds like a perfectly reasonable thing to say and do, and I'm going to support you in doing that. And really, I just hope that maybe more people would do that. And so what happened is, over the course of the next handful of years, this has organically grown, and now we have 385 groups all over the globe, not only broken down by region, but also by vertical and affinity. And it's been amazing to see this happen. Now, why I think this is a perfect example of what I'm trying to get at, and my prediction is that you all are here in the room. And you, individually in your user groups, you also meet in person. There is a beauty to that. There is an interaction that you can't get any other way than when you meet in person. That respect you have for each other, that common ground that you have between each other, which is Salesforce. You're trying to be more successful, and you're leveraging your networks around you. But then not only do you do that, but you bring that interaction online, because you have this concept of the success community, or your groups or your collaboration groups, where you continue that conversations online. And the cool thing is that because you all respect one another and you have these interactions in respect for your leaders, you take that respect online. And then not only do you collaborate in a respectful manner online, but you take that into the rest of the community as well. Because you know that behind the person's profile or the username is an actual person. You know the people putting on this event, while you only maybe interact with them sometimes online, there are people behind these profile photos. So this is a concept that I think is an incredible thing to take, which is exactly demonstrating the concept that big brands, big companies that invest in things like offline strategies that match with online strategies are going to create this really incredible loyalty and bond between each other. So this is something that I think is a pretty incredible strategy that you can subscribe to. Now, this is another one that I think is also a great, great demonstration. So how many of you guys in the room have had an opportunity to go to Dreamforce? Lots, that's great, but not everybody. So Dreamforce, if you haven't had an opportunity to go, is an incredible experience. I have been, like I said, at Salesforce for nearly 14 years. I've been to every single Dreamforce that there is. And I still get so excited and jazzed and fired up by all of the different amazingness that goes on at that conference. It's tangible, it's palpable, you can feel it, you can taste it, and you get so inspired by all the different people that are there, the content that's there, and the vision that's being given to us. But that doesn't mean, just like, who again? Show me the hands. That's not even half the room. So that means all the rest of you, even just in this room, didn't get to experience that vibe. And that means, same thing, we have 150,000 people that come to Dreamforce, and that sounds like a staggeringly huge number, and it is, and it shuts down San Francisco pretty much. But that means that there is well over 1.5 million people or more that don't get to experience this. So this is another great example of how we're going to take this offline experience, this amazing experience, and blend it with an online. Because 2 years ago, we brought the Dreamforce experience into the success community. So now we have the ability to not only allow the attendees the ability to connect ahead of time, make deeper connections, get more out of the actual conference, feeling like it's smaller, but while they're at the conference, they have a deeper connection. They have Salesforce employees that can guide them and tell them, go to this, join this group, and go to these sessions, so they're having a richer experience. But also the rest of the people that don't get to go, they can start to experience it too. They can join in these conversations, they can watch it streaming live, and they can feel like they can be a part of it. They can see this experience, they can feel that energy. And then, Dreamforce is only 4 days. It feels like 400 days for all of us, but it's just 4 days. And when Dreamforce shuts down and when Moscone is being put away and everybody starts going home, the fun ends. You feel like the fun ends and you feel the energy start to go down. But now we have the success community and the fun continues. Because all of that same goodness, the same amazingness that you see in person, all of the connections that you see and all of the good deeds that people are doing, helping out in staffing booths, that still is going on. And that still is going on 365 days a year, not just 4 days. And not only that, we take all the presentations and we take all of the goodness of the content, we bring it to the success community. So then you start to feel like you can create the same vibe online as you had offline. So another great example of what we can do to blend this together. Now, I'm going to wrap up, but this is what I'm going to leave you with, is that I have no idea what the future holds. This is my prediction. This is my thoughts. But what I do know is that I have a mantra that I live by with and I've taught to my daughter. And she's entering this world of social media, and it scares me to death. And nobody can tell me how it's going to go. I go to my mom for all of my greatness and try to instill that in my daughter or my son, and they don't have that. They didn't have social media. And so it's a scary, scary world for me. But and she's experiencing now is meanness, really meanness. She's in this total mean girl era. And her friends are starting to text, and she has an iTouch, and she texts. And she doesn't know what she's doing, and neither do these 10-year-olds. And they say nasty, nasty things to one another. And I just try to tell her that, I bring her back, and I told her all about this presentation. And I said the same thing applies to you, is that you don't understand these nasty things, but if you think, and you're about to text something nasty, just have a few things you think about. Think about in your mind, if someone were to walk right in right now and read that text, the person you're about to text about, would you feel good about that statement? Or when you blast that text message onto a billboard and you're driving down the freeway, would you feel good about what you are going to see on that billboard? Or if your grandma walked in right now and she saw that text you're about to send, would you feel good about yourself? Would she feel proud of you? And if you can answer that, all three of those as yes, I feel good about it, then send that text. But do not hide behind your words. You need to be who you are, because you cannot. You're still going to see that person at school. You're still going to run into them at the grocery store. So do not hide behind your text message. Whatever you text is something that you should say. And then I think that the same exact concepts can apply to this prediction that I have. That again, I'm not saying that we're not in an amazing place. We have come so far. And obviously, this community is what I have to prove for it. And that this wouldn't be here if we were 10, 15 years ago. But maybe a mantra of your own when you're thinking through how to interact. That before you send that blasted message on the discussion board or the tweet that you're about to do, just take a minute and think about those same concepts of would you feel proud about what you're going to say? Or is there a person behind everything that you're saying? And there is. So that is my prediction. So thank you so much.